The morning began like any other, but before the sun had fully climbed above the skyline, the lives of dozens of employees inside Blackstone Global Industries were about to change forever. The company's headquarters stood like a monument of wealth and power, its towering glass walls reflecting the city beneath it. Hundreds of workers hurried through the revolving doors carrying coffee cups, laptops, and the silent hope that today would be better than yesterday. Among them walked Daniel Carter, a quiet senior systems engineer who had spent 12 years building the company's technology infrastructure. Few people noticed him. He never demanded attention. He wasn't the loudest person in meetings, nor the one chasing promotions through office politics. He simply worked harder than everyone else. But outside those polished office walls, Daniel carried a responsibility far greater than quarterly reports and software updates. He was a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, after losing his wife to cancer 5 years earlier. Every morning he woke before dawn, prepared Lily's breakfast, braided her hair after watching countless tutorial videos because he wanted to do it perfectly, packed her school lunch with handwritten notes reminding her how proud he was, then rushed across the city to reach work on time. Every paycheck mattered. Every hour counted. Every sacrifice was made for one little girl who believed her father could fix anything. If you're inspired by stories of courage, justice, and unforgettable twists, make sure to subscribe and join us for more powerful journeys that prove kindness and integrity always matter. That particular Tuesday, Daniel arrived only 3 minutes later than usual. The reason was simple. Lily had woken with a mild fever, and he refused to leave until he knew his elderly neighbor would stay with her until school called. He had already informed his direct manager through email and text before leaving home. Under normal circumstances, no one would have cared. But Blackstone had recently appointed a new CEO named Victor Langford, a man whose reputation spread through the company faster than any official announcement. Employees whispered that he believed compassion was weakness and loyalty meant blind obedience. Since taking over just 2 months earlier, he had fired dozens of longtime workers over minor mistakes, convinced that fear created productivity. Every department lived under constant anxiety. Smiles disappeared from hallways. Conversations stopped whenever Victor appeared. Even executives avoided eye contact. Daniel reached his desk, apologized to his team, and immediately immersed himself in solving a server issue that threatened an important client presentation. Within an hour he had already prevented what could have become a multi-million-dollar outage. His teammates quietly thanked him because everyone knew the company depended on his expertise more than management admitted. Yet while Daniel focused on saving the business, Victor Langford was walking through the building conducting what he called discipline inspections. Surrounded by assistants and security personnel, he looked less like a leader and more like someone searching for excuses to demonstrate authority. When Victor entered the technology floor, the atmosphere froze. Conversations ended instantly. Keyboards became louder than voices. Daniel barely noticed because he was deeply engaged in restoring network stability. Victor stopped beside Daniel's workstation and glanced at the attendance report on his tablet. "So," Victor said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, "you're the employee who thinks company rules don't apply to him." Daniel calmly stood. "Good morning, sir. I informed my manager I would be a few minutes late because my daughter wasn't feeling well." Victor's expression hardened. "Excuses. It wasn't an excuse. I simply wanted to make sure she was safe before leaving." Victor smirked. "This company doesn't pay you to be a father during business hours." The words echoed across the office. Several employees lowered their heads, unable to watch what was happening. Daniel remained respectful. "I've never missed a deadline in 12 years. I was 3 minutes late." Victor interrupted him with a wave of his hand. 3 minutes today becomes 30 tomorrow. Standards are everything." Daniel took a slow breath. "The server issue affecting the Hamilton account has already been resolved. I don't care." The CEO reached into a folder handed to him by an assistant. "You're fired." Silence swallowed the room. Even the air conditioning seemed loud. Daniel stared at the termination letter without touching it. "You are firing me over 3 minutes?" "I'm firing you because discipline begins with examples. Security will escort you out." Several co-workers looked ready to protest, but fear kept them frozen. Daniel slowly packed a small cardboard box containing family photos, a coffee mug decorated by Lily, and the tiny paper flower she had made for Father's Day. As he placed the flower carefully inside the box, tears filled the eyes of a receptionist watching from across the office. Before leaving, Daniel turned toward his teammates. "It has been an honor working with all of you. No anger. No shouting. Only dignity." Victor interpreted the silence as defeat. What he failed to notice was that nearly everyone respected Daniel far more than they respected the CEO. Outside the building, Daniel sat on a bench holding the box in his lap. His phone vibrated repeatedly as co-workers secretly sent messages expressing support. Some offered references. Others apologized for remaining silent. Daniel smiled sadly. "They have families too," he whispered. Then his phone rang again. This time it wasn't a coworker. It was Lily. "Daddy?" Her tiny voice instantly changed his expression. "Hey, princess. Are you coming home early today?" Daniel hesitated. "I might." "That's okay. We can make pancakes for dinner." He laughed softly despite everything. "Pancakes sound perfect. You always say everything will work out." Daniel looked toward the skyscraper where he had invested 12 years of his life. "I still believe that." After ending the call, he reached into his wallet and pulled out an old business card that had remained there for nearly a decade. It was slightly faded, its edges worn from years of being carried everywhere. Most people would have thrown it away long ago. Daniel never did. Years earlier, before Blackstone became an international giant, he had helped a struggling entrepreneur recover critical data after a devastating cyber attack. Daniel refused payment because the young businessman couldn't afford it. Instead, the grateful entrepreneur handed him a card. "If you ever truly need me," he had said, "call me." Daniel never asked for anything. Until today. He stared at the number for several seconds. Then he pressed the call button. The line connected almost immediately. A calm voice answered. "Daniel, after all these years. I was wondering when you'd finally call." Daniel quietly explained everything that had happened. There was a brief silence. Then the voice spoke again. "Stay exactly where you are." 5 minutes later, a convoy of black luxury vehicles turned onto the street and stopped directly in front of Blackstone Global Industries. Employees rushed to the windows. Executives looked down from the upper floors.